Hello, my name is Jeff, and I am the CEO of Nerd Squad IT Support and Cybersecurity. I'd like to welcome you to the first installation of our series called 2-Minute Tech Fixes for Medical and Dental Offices. Essentially, I'll be bringing you through a number of bite-sized walkthroughs of common issues or optimizations that'll be, particularly of relevance to medical and dental practice owners. So the first video that we're going to do here is called How to Tell If Your Wi-Fi Network is HIPAA Safe. And I should mention, it probably will be a little bit longer than 2 minutes. I probably should have renamed the series something different, but I apologize. I want to try and give you as much information as possible in a short period of time. So, how to tell if your Wi-Fi network is HIPAA safe. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to walk you through my process when I walk into an office. What am I looking at? How do I do that initial evaluation to see if you're implementing best practices and what I need to do in order to bring your office into compliance, in particular with respect to your Wi-Fi network. So the first thing that I need to do is I actually need to get into whatever network hardware that you have installed at the moment. So I'm going to look at this workstation here, and we're just going to go to a command prompt. Let's just see what our network looks like. So we see here the default gateway is 192.168.0.1. That's a common private IP address. A lot of gateways have that as their, or their routers have that as their default gateway. You're going to hear me talk a lot about changing defaults. So right off the bat, I would use a unique private IP address range. I would not use the one that's built into a router by default. But let's go ahead and log into that. And what I see here just right off the bat is this device is old. Just look at that interface. That is, oh man, I'm already concerned just by looking at the age. And if I actually look around here, I see copyright 2015. This practice hasn't upgraded their hardware in a long time. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of holes here that need to be filled, so to speak. Let's go ahead and type in the password. Again, defaults, you need to change all your default passwords. If you haven't done that, you're wide open. So again, this is just so old. Let's just take a quick detour and look at this device, Calyx C844G. So let's just Google that, Calyx C844G. So CenturyLink is the ISP. Older CenturyLink modem, this modem is being retired. So we need to replace this device. Now, again, I'm bringing you through what a lot of practices may have in place, in particular if they don't have a cybersecurity expert. So what we're looking at here, and what I see a lot of times when something's just managed by a family member or a tech-savvy employee or something like that, is you've got this router that's provided to you by your internet service provider, and that might be connected to what we call a dumb switch, which is just basically sort of like an unmanaged, like a patch panel. It allows you to expand the number of connections that you have on the back of your router from like the 4 or 8 to whatever number you need to connect all the devices in your office. Anyhow, if you have an MSP, which is a managed service provider, or someone that has experience in this, you're not going to be using the features and functionality of the router that's provided by your ISP. There's going to be something behind that that's going to sort of manage your whole network, and it's going to have the proper security. What I'm going to do is the first thing we need to talk about when it comes to Wi-Fi is encryption. If you're not encrypted, just forget about it. Like you're wide open. Your data, your patient data is just open to the entire world. So when it comes to encryption, we need to be looking for WPA3. WPA3. So when we look at this device here, we see WPA2 personal. That's not, that is okay. It's secure. It is encrypted, but it is not the latest standard. And again, that's not surprising because of how old this device is. This is, again, it is encrypted, but you want to see either this at minimum, but WPA3. If you see WEP, WEP, or open, then all your patient data, anything that's flowing around your network is just open to the world. So I want to just see if we can upgrade this. So we're going to go in, it probably is under wireless security, yes. So security type, which is encryption, they're calling it security. So yeah, they do not have WPA3 here, which is not surprising. But you can see if you're set to either WEP or off, that needs to be changed immediately. On the topic again of defaults, I see here this SSID is set to CenturyLink. So you're typically going to have something like your office name Wi-Fi. You might have guest Wi-Fi or something like that. I'm going to mention that in a moment. But I want to just check some other settings here. So here we can see that your SSID, that's the name of your network when you actually search for wireless networks on your device. Your primary internal network should be hidden. Again, this is not foolproof. A malicious actor will be able to find your SSID even if it's hidden. It's just one of those best practices. So your primary network should be hidden. If we just, this device, here we have a schedule. Might be nice to turn off your Wi-Fi at night. Anyhow, yeah, so there's this device needs to be upgraded. But let's continue on. The next thing, I was mentioning guest Wi-Fi. So we need to understand that most offices will have two wireless networks, the primary internal wireless network, and really going along with that, the primary internal network. And then you have your guest Wi-Fi. Your guest Wi-Fi needs to be completely segregated from your internal network. So your patients should not be logging on to the same Wi-Fi that you have all of your office equipment. If you're using a router that's provided by your ISP and it's a relatively modern device, it probably has guest Wi-Fi built into it, and it probably is segregated by default. That's kind of just the typical setup if it's built in. But again, if I'm looking at this from the perspective of sort of like your basic, network setup. That's not how we would set it up. We would have a technology called virtual LAN or VLAN, and we'd kind of like create our own segregated networks and put your guest Wi-Fi on one and your primary Wi-Fi on the other. I will just say, huge important detail. Your employees and patients all should be connecting to the guest Wi-Fi. If you want to have your employees on their own Wi-Fi, you could have like employee Wi-Fi, and a lot of companies will do that because there are certain security protections that you can put in place that you might want for your employee network that you may or may not want for the guest Wi-Fi. But the important thing is that your employees do not have your key, your wireless encryption key to your primary internal network. Your employees' devices, their phones are not secure. You don't know what's going on them. They should not be on the same device where you have patient data flowing around. Another reason for this also is you can throttle the amount of bandwidth that's being used by your guest or employee Wi-Fi so that you can preserve that for your practice equipment. Again, a lot of these devices use a lot of bandwidth, and you want to try and preserve that as best you can. So that's just another performance consideration, but it's a major security issue as well. So employees need to be on their own network or on the guest Wi-Fi. The last thing that I just want to talk about is logging. Logging is hugely important. So what we want to look at is, if we go looking at this, so if we go web activity log here, it looks essentially like there's nothing on. I mean, one day, it's the same 7/6/2025. So this is not storing any significant amount of logs, system log. This goes back to 6/19. Looks like it's cleared on reboot. Firewall log. Again, it's just a day. So if you were to bring in an MSP such as Nerd Squad, again, we're going to be recommending the hardware that you use. And this is not a huge investment. You can get some pretty great equipment for just literally like a couple $100, $200 or $300 is really all you need to have a secure network. The other benefit of that is typically those types of devices that we're going to be bringing in are going to be able to feed this logging data into our security and event management software. And we're going to be analyzing it for threats, malicious actors, if network goes down, all that kind of stuff is going to be proactively managed. And if we see anything wrong, we're going to be notified and we'll get on it and remediate it immediately. So again, if we were there, that is what we would be doing. But again, I wanted to sort of just explain what typically we're going to see in your most basic of setups. So with that being said, that's basically what I wanted to go over. Just to recap, you need to make sure that you're logging your connections. You want to make sure that your guest network is segregated from your primary internal network. And I will also just mention, so what should be on these internal networks? That's going to be, of course, your servers, your workstations, your security system, right? Your cameras. You're going to have imaging hardware, smart TVs, your printer. Those are all going to be on your primary internal network. And if at all possible, it should be wired. It's not too expensive to drop an Ethernet cable to wherever your devices are. You're probably going to get a performance boost, although Wi-Fi is very fast these days. But more importantly, it's going to be much more secure. But when you have those situations where the device must be connected by Wi-Fi, then again, those are going to be on a separate network. You also want to make sure that you've changed all your default passwords. All the defaults should be changed. In terms of passwords, you want to use a secure, highly secure password manager. There's a lot of them out there. You want to make sure that any password manager you use does not use a password itself. It should use what we call a pass key, or what we call passwordless authentication. So that could be like a authenticator on your phone, like Microsoft Authenticator, Duo, Google Authenticator, where you never have to see passwords whatsoever. So password manager is hugely important. It should be documented. Again, you want to make sure you're not using outdated encryption. Users need to be separated out. You can't have one network for all users. Don't broadcast your SSID, and make sure that all access is being monitored and stored. You need to make sure your logs are not just for a couple days or weeks. You need to store those logs for really almost an indefinite amount of time, but at least several months. Make sure your router's firmware is updated. You need to make sure that also your wireless access points are actually physically secure. Your network equipment needs to be secure as well. So with that being said, if you'd like for us to come in and do an evaluation, we can do that. We can probably do it remotely. If we need to physically come into your office, we'd be happy to do so. If you want to get in contact with us, you can give us a call. Our phone number here, 239-465-0079. You can also email us at info@nerdsquad.net. And also, if you just want to book a time at your convenience, just go to the Contact Us page. And right here, you'll see Schedule Meeting Now. Click that button. It's going to pull open our bookings page. You can do New Client Meeting. Pick a time that works for you. Put in your information. And then select the topics you'd like to talk about. By the way, if you need immediate assistance, we'll be happy to try and take care of that for you. If you're not actually a client of ours, we will try to assist you as best we can. So with that being said, I thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to hearing from you.